Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
It's good to see you, and welcome to our session today.
Okay.
And I just want you to know that I'm going to have to take some notes during our session.
Okay.
So I might, every once in a while, I might look down and jot in my notebook here.
Okay.
So I know that in our last couple sessions, you told me about your being laid off and how that was affecting your mental health. You said that you were a little depressed the last time we talked, and you were feeling very anxious. And I know that you're taking care of your grandkids. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. And so you were telling me that you weren't feeling very motivated, and just like, I know last time you were telling me that you were experiencing a lack of energy.
Right.
So, in our session today, do you know what you would like to discuss today? If it's the same as what we discussed before, that's fine. Is there anything new that you would like to discuss today?
Okay. Well, I did get laid off, and I had a $30,000 retirement, and so I, kind of concerned that was. When I'm thinking of the future, that's not really enough for us to take care of bills that we have, and then just whatever might come up with the grandkids. And so I guess that's probably just one of the main things that bothers me is just financially losing that income, and then it's also made me feel very sad and unhappy, just not having a job, and not having that be a part of my life. And so I guess what I'd like to discuss today is how I need some ideas on how to talk to my husband Ray, so that I have a little trouble communicating or and just letting him know how it's affecting me, and I guess maybe because I'm not explaining it well or whatever, then he was thinking that he thinks I should just not worry about getting another job, because I really would like to get another job, and that I should just stay home and just watch over the grandkids, and it seems like he doesn't understand how bad I feel about it. It's hard for him to understand that.
Okay, so I hear you saying that losing your job has made you feel really sad. It's had a very negative impact on the way that you're feeling about your life right now, and even your relationship with your husband.
Yes.
And so, can you tell me just a little bit more about your relationship with your husband right now, and how you guys are communicating with each other about you being laid off?
Well, I guess maybe he kind of relies on the fact that when we were young and then had our family, that he worked and I stayed home and took care of the kids, and then I didn't go back to work until my youngest was in high school, and then I worked at Lansco for like 10 years, and but I started in the stock room, and then I was able to get up to district manager, so that was quite a accomplishment for me, and something that I probably always kind of when I was younger, I kind of did have some ambitions, but I felt like that the thing for me to do was to get married and have kids. And so this 10 years that I've been at Lansco has really fulfilled me. And then, so I think that he kind of doesn't quite understand that he just thinks, why not just go back to staying at home, and then that's could be a good thing for the grandkids. And he's just even though I've said something to him, he just still maybe just is hard for him to accept the fact that it means that much to me.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you were very proud of your accomplishment getting that job at Lansco
Yes.
and working your way up, and that is absolutely something that you should be proud of. And so you don't think that he understands maybe your pride in that? Does he not understand? Does he not hear you when you tell him how that accomplishment made you feel, being able to do that?
Yes, and yeah, I think so. I think he just has trouble understanding it, and and he's a good person. He's and but so there's just something going on where it's not just can't get communicated, and so it kind of I don't mind going back to work, and I don't mind going back to work, and it's also having the responsibility of grandkids and worrying about that, and to me, I don't mind like having to do it all, like the housework and all that kind of stuff, or like I had to do for the 10 years, although there's a little, but it doesn't bother me that much.
So there's a couple things that I heard you say that I would like to discuss. One of the things was, on the one hand, I hear you saying that you have a good husband. I know in our last session you told me a lot about Ray, and you said that he was a very loving husband, a very good man. And on the other hand, I hear you saying that you don't really want to have this conversation with him, and you're afraid that he may not understand what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just want to discuss a little bit more of that, maybe contradiction there, that on the one hand, he's a loving husband who I feel might be understanding and receptive to this conversation that you'd like to have with him. What do you think about that? Do you think that he would be understanding if you went and you explained to him how you're feeling about not working, and tell him that you really do want to work, and explain that working was something that you were very proud of, and you're missing that in your life right now? Do you think that he would be open to having a conversation with you about that?
Yes, I mean, I guess just further conversation, like I think, he just might still have some old, more ideas about women, because when we were married, then I was at home, and so that seemed like, a good thing to him, and so maybe maybe I'm not communicating that I've changed, the working all those years and having the responsibility of being a district manager. That's kind of a different kind of a life, rather than, just being at home.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, and another thing that you've said is that you really do want to be able to do it all. So I was going to ask you, did you have a chance to read the book that I had suggested in our first session?
Yeah.
I felt like it was something that might be able to explain some of the experience that you're having right now. It's the Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie book, Feminist Manifesto in 15 Seconds. So did you have a chance to read that over the past couple weeks?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So in her book, one of the things that she talks about is the idea of doing it all. And so she says that as women, we should reject that idea, because that assumes that it is the woman's responsibility to be the caregiver, to take care of the children, and to do the household work. And so in your case, if you are striving to do it all, then perhaps we can talk about what your responsibility should look like if you are working, and how much of the household and the caregiving, or the household work and the caregiving, should you be responsible for. So can you tell me a little bit about Ray and his household responsibilities?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was working, he really did not really, help much around the house. I would just do mainly the cooking and the cleaning and that kind of thing. So it did, create like some resentment on my part about that. And so that part of it, maybe that was, partially my fault not to, not to want to complain, like I wanted to, sometimes I want to be more likable, and I don't want to cause too much friction, and so that could be something that I wasn't doing correctly.
Mm-hmm. And so Adichie in her book, she says that when you find equality in your relationship, there will be a lack of resentment. So that's one thing that she does talk a lot about, is that resentment that women feel toward their husbands because they don't take on household chores and caregiving responsibilities. And so that's one thing that she talks about. Another thing that she talks about, you just said that likability was something that you might struggle with. I know there's a part in here. Let's see if I can find that part here. She says that we should teach women to reject likability. Her job is not to make herself likable. Her job is to be her full self, and a self that is honest and aware of the equal humanity of other people. And so do you have any thoughts on that part of the book?
I guess what I could do is realize that, that he be more honest with him about what I'm really feeling, because we should be like more equal, and I shouldn't feel like, okay, it's a woman's job to do this and this, like we and like discuss that with him, and see how we could work through that, and kind of so that it would be maybe a little hard for him to do that at the beginning, but I think he would be agreeable to that.
Mm-hmm. So you think that he might agree to that? You think that it might be difficult for him at first, but you did say before that he has been a good husband and that he is loving. You were telling me that, again, the last time we spoke, you were saying that. So how do you think that he would receive this conversation if you talked to him about doing more around the house and the way that you felt over the last 10 years when you were working, and how that felt for you? How do you think that he might receive that conversation if you tried to have a conversation like that with him this week?
Yeah, I think that I could just really go over it again, just the fact that I did kind of have some of the, just go ahead and be more honest about that, I did have some of the resentment. And also just I feel like, he and my friends, they are kind of criticizing my wanting to be ambitious, because that really has been very fulfilling for me, and then just also explain that for me to get laid off, it's kind of a shock, you're not expecting it, and so then it just kind of takes that part of your life, and you don't have it anymore, and then you just get kind of discouraged. And then plus I also didn't, I don't have a college degree because I went and got married, and so then getting another job is going to be kind of difficult, or could be when I'm trying to interview for jobs and stuff like that. So
Okay, we can just wait a second until that stops. So I hear you saying that you, it has been very difficult, again, for you to be laid off, and that makes sense. And then on top of that, you feel like your friends and your husband are criticizing your ambition and your desire to go back to work. And so that just adds another layer of, you feel like you're not being understood.
Right.
On
Yes,
top of
exactly.
Already being upset about what has happened and feeling like you've lost meaning in your life.
Yes.
And so there's another part in Adichie's book. I don't know if you remember reading this part where she talks about, criticizing women, and she says that if you criticize a personality trait in women that you don't also criticize in men, then you're not criticizing that personality trait, you're criticizing women, or you have a problem with.
That's something I could really think about.
Right.
Think more deeply about.
Mm-hmm. And so for you, if you feel like your ambition is being criticized, then perhaps there is a certain level of internalized misogyny that your husband is dealing with and that your friends are dealing with, and then they won't be able to understand your ambition like you need them to,
Right.
because they don't necessarily think that it's okay that you are ambitious. And so I think that's certainly something that you would need to bring up in that conversation if you did want to have an honest conversation with him. Do you think that he would be willing to hear your thoughts on that?
I think so. I think it's, we can just, because that idea of women being judged differently is sometimes you don't think about it as much, or then if you would want to talk about it, it's a little bit, because he might say, maybe I deny it in myself too, or something. Maybe I don't quite get the whole concept of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say that maybe you deny it in yourself, but I actually hear you being pretty honest with yourself about what you want. So it sounds like you know that you want to work.
Yes.
It sounds like you know that you were very proud of yourself for moving up at Lansco from the stockroom to district manager.
Yes.
And so I do hear you being very honest with yourself. So it sounds like a goal for you might be to have an honest conversation with your husband.
Yes.
Sounds like
Yes.
that might be one of your ultimate goals, to better your relationship with him. And so what are one or two things that you think you might be able to do this week to move yourself closer to your goal?
Well, so I just will have those conversations, and then maybe I could do some journaling, to, it seems like sometimes if you write things down, that it gives you more, maybe you're more relaxed and you might think of more things, and then you can go back and look at it, and then maybe do it more than one day, over a week or something like that, or a few days or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of gives you, just gives you more confidence maybe to have a conversation about it.
Sure. I think that journaling is an excellent idea, and I think that, writing things down, I know that it helps me. I use a journal and I write stuff down for myself, and it does give you that confidence sometimes that you need. And I would just like you to know at this point we have about 5 minutes left in our session. So I just want to make sure that we are aware of the time and how long we have left. And one other thing that I wanted to discuss before we start to wrap things up. So I think that perhaps in this honest conversation that you have with your husband, we could take another piece of advice from Adichie. So one of the things that she says is that it is not a man's role to provide, it is the role of whoever can provide to provide. So you want to work, you want to contribute financially to your family and to your household. And so do you think that your husband, how do you think you might be able to add that into the conversation in a way that he would be receptive to that and understand that you would like to provide as well?
Well, I did, read the book, and so maybe I could kind of reread that section and then just go ahead and tell him what it said, and just so, because it seems like he, our early marriage, before I went back to work, he was the one that was working, and so that's probably a thing that's more at the top of his mind, So if I kind of tried to explain it to him by kind of what she says in the book, and that there's right. It just kind of makes sense that whoever can provide, he can provide, but let's just say if it was another situation, then that would be okay too. And so that is kind of a concept that even to me is a little bit, you know, that people have, everybody has problems with that, I think, maybe, you know.
I think so, yeah.
Or a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I think that would be, I think that'd be a great idea for you to just read back through this. And I would absolutely like to say thank you for reading the book that I suggested to you. I appreciate that you did that so that we could discuss it, and I think that it has been helpful in understanding what you're experiencing.
Right, yeah.
And what, you know, that your desires are okay. It's okay for you to want to go back to work. Maybe other people in your life don't understand that, but maybe this can help you to have those conversations with them that you need to have so that they can understand where you're coming from. Do you think that it has helped to explain the experience?
Yes, I do. I really do. I really think it was kind of opened my eyes to a few things.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's very good. And so just to kind of wrap things up, today in our session, I have some notes here. So, you know, today in our session, we talked about your feelings around how your husband feels about you going back to work. So it sounds like you kind of feel like he doesn't understand your ambition. You feel like your friends don't understand your ambition, and I think that, you know, it sounds like you have a good goal in mind to have a conversation with him, and maybe,
I think so.
and maybe even over the next few weeks, you know, we can talk about what it would look like for you to have a conversation with your friends and the other people in your life, so that they can understand where you're coming from and what you want. And so today we just talked about your desires, and it sounds like you're being very honest with yourself about what you would like. And so that's great. I feel like we have homework for you.
Right.
So you know what you're gonna do this week, right?
Right.
Do you have any other questions for me at this time?
I don't think so. You know, I think I'll just kind of, you know, my homework and do a little bit, read over the book maybe a little bit. You know,
Okay.
And so I think that's gonna help.
Okay. And then, you know, in our next few sessions, if you would like to bring your journal with you, would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
Okay. So if you'd like to bring your journal in so that we can discuss, you know, what you've been feeling, and you know, and just see if you would like to journal about the conversation that you have with Ray this week, you can bring that in next week if you would like, and we can talk about what that conversation looked like. If you decide to journal every day, then, you know, we can just use that as a tool to guide our discussions that we have about the way that you're feeling, and about the way that you are, you know, handling your feelings around being laid off, so that hopefully you'll be able to get back out there. You know, if you do want to continue working, you'll be able to get back out there and start going to interviews, and also have the support of your husband and your friends, because it sounds like that's something that you're really wanting. And that might make things move a little bit smoother for you from here going forward. So I have some good notes about our session today. Would you like to go ahead and schedule another appointment?
Yes. Let's see. I think maybe next week, maybe on a Wednesday, might be good for me.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know if I have any times next Wednesday. I believe that my schedule might be full. Are there any other days that might be good for you?
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday, okay. Is 6 o'clock okay on Thursday?
That's fine. Yeah, that'll work for me.
Okay, so we'll try to do 6 o'clock next Thursday. I'll put that in my calendar, and I'll send you an email the same way as I did the last time.
Okay.
So you'll just have to accept the invite when you get it.
Okay.
It will automatically add it to your calendar and mine. And so I'll see you next Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you
Alright.
for coming.
Okay, thank you. See you next week.